Good morning, everyone. Well, here we are. Market up big yesterday. Mostly the NASDAQ. Pretty much went it alone for the most part. And now it's back down again. We'll see how far it goes as every day when we see a gap or where the markets are at. I always say it's just the beginning of the day. Might not look like this at 4 o'clock. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it looks worse. Well, we'll see. Right now, as we look at the futures every day, and the first thing we're starting out with is that this has retraced all of yesterday's gain, and it's right at resistance, and it's up at our measured move target area. It's right under the 50-period moving average, simple moving average, which is in alignment with that closing price right there. So there's several reasons, technically, why the market should run into some resistance here, as well as the fact that the damn thing collapsed 35% in 3 weeks. And it's had a hell of a nice retracement, but eyeballing the weekly chart here, it's pretty much where you would expect a sell setup to form. So part of what I wrote in the weekend letter was, look, we're close. Buyers typically don't give up easy. They certainly, as far as the NASDAQ went, they showed up yesterday in droves to hold their ground. And that may have been possibly the tell, because you had a range expansion bar. So anyway, before we go there, I mean, just, the typical thing to do is look at our pivot lows, right? You can see this one got sliced through. They tried to hold it there. And so it went down to the next one, and buyers are going to try and hold it there. And maybe they do. And if they don't, it'll go down to the next one. And it's as simple as looking to the left. That's why you see that every day. Look to the left. No fibs. No VWAPs. No speed lines. None of that. No whatever they have out there. All kinds of crazy stuff. Anyway, that's where buyers were before, and that's where the buyers will show up again. And you see how much of an attempt that they can produce in buying power, demand. And then here, it couldn't hold. Stops get hit, down it goes. We start the process over again here. And so if they can hold here throughout the day, maybe this red bar, turns into a bottoming tail bar. And then the picture begins to change. It still has to move up above resistance, but so now we're starting the day negatively. So now what you'd want to do here, is take that piece of information, kind of say, okay, what kind of a gap is this? Right? So the spiders are down to 276, right? 276. That's a pretty bearish gap to reverse from. So you see the gap fill down here. You always want to look to the left and see, what is that gap in alignment with? Is it gapping into a void where it's got plenty of room to drop? Or is it gapping into an area where buyers are going to show up? Right? So because it's an unfilled gap, our assumption is buyers are going to show up there. And this hourly chart on the spiders is still in an uptrend, regardless of this gap, because the major support is down here. So there is a chance of turning this thing around. Still starting out quite negatively. It's going to have some heavy lifting to do that. But let's see what happens over the first, 30 minutes or so, where buyers have the opportunity to hold their ground. And if they can hold it here for 30 minutes, I suspect there could be an attempt to push back up to the highs. And we'll see how that, how that plays out. Sure, we'll look at SPX. We may as well just go right to there for now. So that has to be gapping down around here as well. Right, just looking at the futures and the spiders, it doesn't update pre-market, but we know that based on, where the spiders are at here. Wrong symbol. down around here on some support, you know, around here. And anyway, so for SPX trades, if you can get premium above yesterday's high, that should be fine. You know, pretty sizable gap down here, down to the low. I'd give it a little while to see if it could stabilize and down below this bottoming tail bar, which is right, I guess down below 270. The bottoming tail bar is 271.41. So now those would be the levels that I would look for. Put spread below 270 and call spreads up above yesterday's high. And then as you know, things develop, maybe we could get closer. So in other words, I mean, if it breaks below here, well, 270, 270, maybe want to get a little further away. Anyway, if it holds here and pops up, we'll assess this in the morning. But initially, let's go with those areas. Below Monday's low? Well, I think below, well, how far below Monday's low can we get is the key. So when we look at the options tables, if we can find this premium, you know, around 260, 261, 62, I like that even better. You know, with a credit spread, I prefer to take less money and be more sure, right? Than take more money and, you know, sweat it out. Okay. All right. NQs, right? They were the star yesterday. They were the star. And this is really going to be the real tell here as far as, do we really have a high in place here? Because this exceeded the measured move. This is not, you know, holy grail land here with the fibs and all of that. With hey, this is the spot, you know, to within a decimal point. No, we don't do that, right? So we have this measured move type of guidance, and here we have wide range bars igniting. Right, that was a gap reversal. That was bullish and kind of more of a consolidation, and a wide range bar igniting, and it continued up. And this could be, it's not as big of a bar, but it could be what is a wide range bar ending. It is at resistance. So now, like we do, like let's say that we're long this as a swing trader. How do we look at this objectively without getting into the intraday timeframes? Well, obviously, if it closes below today's low, that's bearish, right? There's no way to look at that and kind of skew it as a positive other than to go into hope mode and say, well, maybe it'll be a red bar ignored. The other side of it is just eyeballing a wide range bar like we always do and saying, hey, if it retraces 50%, well, I'm getting a little nervous. 60%, I don't like that at all, and so on. But if at the end of the day, it closes near the high and we've got a bottoming tail bar here, that's not going to be so bad, right? That's not going to be so bad. But it, you know, now it's dealing with situations where you're getting gaps down to the prior day's low and below the prior day's low, right? Or those areas on the S&Ps, you've got financials that are going down. And, you know, I don't know how badly it looks, but Apple here is down about 6 points, right? Down at around, it hit around 280. That's a gap down below a green bar. That was a gap up. That's not good, right? So again, we always see how things unfold. We look at things and, you know, first thing in the morning, you see these gaps and it's like, oh, that's so bullish or that's so bearish. And at the end of the day, we have a different scenario. So you have to formulate your plan in multiple time frames and be objective. As does it plan following through, or are things changing dramatically from what it appeared to be? So, you know, this is gapping down here. If it goes sideways for 15, 20 minutes or so and drops again, it could be going for the gap fill. And that is going to be the start of a top in Apple, and highly likely in the NASDAQ futures and in the Qs here, coming into the same area. So we're at 208. 208. They're gapping down more than halfway, right? 208. So it's the start of quite a bearish gap, and it's got a void below. This gapped up yesterday. So I suspect the buyers are going to give it a try here, and those that are maybe going to try and short this at the open, they're probably going to get a little black eye, I think. That's usually the way it happens. But if this cannot regain, getting back up toward the top of this bar, at least halfway past the top of this bar, I think the odds then point to this being a shock, a fake. I got you, right? I sucked you in. I got you now. And what are you going to do? And we'll have to see how this plays out. And then, of course, if it does get worse, does this hold step by step? So having a void in place like this gap doesn't mean there's a giant void, because you've got all this congestion here, which is these days where buyers are going to step up again and defend that area. So it's not that we can say that sellers have taken control at this point and this market's going down. No, there's going to be a battle, and looking to the left is looking at the battlefield, so to speak, and saying, this is where the soldiers are going to die and who's going to win. All right. So we have to sit back like the generals, of course, and wait to see which side has less dead bodies. And we look at the candlesticks and we can see how the battle progresses. Right. 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 Stop for 270, 250 on the spiders. What would it be at 270, 250? Well, let's see what the premiums are when the market opens, Paul. I'd like to get a little below 270, right? And no, Apple. Oh, you want to do a spread on Apple? Well, I don't think that Dan posted that, but I think you'll be just fine with that 270, 250. I would be very surprised. So it's gapping down here. It's got support. It's got the gap here. Let's just see what it does. All right, let me continue here so it gets too late. So YM, we're going to see the same thing. That's been weaker. You can see it didn't even pop up very much yesterday. That couldn't get out of its own way. It hasn't been able to fulfill the upside target. So the question is, does it break down below here? Or is this just a, red, green, red, turn back to green, whatever? You can see it's coming down to support. The Russell couldn't get out of its own way yesterday. There was an attempt to go up and it failed, and it's going to hit some support right here, right in that area. So maybe the markets are waiting to see if that holds, and then they'll maybe all bounce. Oil tickling under 20 bucks. And I mentioned yesterday in the room, keep an eye on that. It's getting close to $20 again. If it goes under it, I don't think the market's going to like it. And it hit it and it bounced off. And now it's right back down there. So, yes, today is the webinar at 12 o'clock. FT Trader, I'll give you the link. Good morning, Bill. Hey, you're expected to be here on time on YouTube. Come on. All right, just getting over there with you guys. Bonds up, right, on support. We've been talking about this support for a week. It's holding, it's going up, right? That going up, bearish for the market. Gold, coming down a little bit, no big deal. Things don't go straight up, so that's correcting a bit. It is coming into the resistance area between that 1800 and 2000. Keep that in mind. Silver coming in a little bit here. Really not a big deal. Transports, right? They're going to be going down. Right? They didn't do much yesterday. And again, underperformed, didn't retrace that much. Going down. We'll see how it all unfolds, everybody. Adhere to your stops. Money management is the key to survival and becoming a successful trader and investor. Anybody can do it. But if you don't learn money management from the beginning, your odds of making it are pretty slim. All yours, Dan.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I heard you mentioning oil there. And you know how I've been making fun of the news lower third riders. I saw one this morning. Oil in the lower third, it said oil is up today, and you know how they always say on whatever. This one, not only is oil not up, so that's an incorrect statement, but then they threw in there on bullish speculation, or no, it was even sillier than that. I forget. I was just shaking my head. Their regular person must not be working now. We actually have a half lot left of a put spread in XOP. It's way out of the money, the 34s. But we'll go ahead and move the stop 5-minute low just to protect gains. Let's look at the opens in the swing letter. And good thing we were taking half profits on a bunch of things. AMD, we entered 2 days ago on the red bar ignored. We sold half into morning strength, and I've tightened the stop on the back half, but it still looks fine. It's relative strength based on comparing to other things. Amgen we got into yesterday, beautiful gap from a bull 1, 2, 3, 4. We covered half for a $couple gain. GCOS we get into yesterday on the afternoon breakout. Garmin over the red bars for long stock. We got a put spread on airlines. Let's look at a bunch of airlines. They're in the news today showing great relative strength. The majority of them gapping up in a weak market, and that's because of the loans deals that they finally sold off on with the government. Percent grants, which they don't have to pay back because they're paying their employees versus the amount that are loans and whatever other contingencies and all that. But the market likes what it's doing. Lilly, we entered, beautiful range expansion, 1, 2, 3 breakout, and we sold a third. Michael Jackson, the marijuana ETF, triggered long, space triggered long, and we sold a third. And finally, Tilray covered call, another pot stock. So all our positions are fine. Oh, I missed Hilton. Hilton, we are short. That went against us yesterday, but still, we entered 2 days ago on this breakdown from a sell setup, so nothing to do with that now. Pavel, how often do we send swing letter? We send a very detailed swing letter, or all three of our newsletters. We send detailed ones out over the weekend with many picks, updates, detailed market review. And then during the week, we send them as needed. During the week, when we give new trades or market review or whatever, we send out a nightly video. I did one last night on the swing letter, so you should have got that. Reviewing the market and the opens and the new trades. The weekly did not get it because there were no new trades. And then obviously intraday, we use Telegram. Tesla, Goldman, this is the only FANG stock gapping up. Tesla, Goldman gave them an upgrade to I think they said 860. And I respect brokerage firms that do them when the technicals suggest it. But come on, the buy entry was over this bar's high, and that's where we gave it to our subscribers. And so it's rallied 570, 150 points, and now you're upgrading it. It's just, I don't get it. Robert, how do I get work for my employees, pay them and turn loan into a grant? I don't know. We can talk about that later. I got to keep moving here. In the news, in the journal, on these cruise ships, I've been watching them, watching all the beat up sectors along with any compelling setup like always. But they look like they might have been bottoming. Now it's gapping down. There was news that the US is extending their no cruise area in our waters until mid-July now. So that's making that gap down. CCL has been the weaker one of the three, technically, for a while. And they, even though the health group said that mid-July, newspaper said they are halting their cruises until June 29. I don't know where they got that from. But, oh, and then the nut, I was reading a different article, and it said that there are 80,000 employees stuck on 100 ships around the country, and that they're going to, likely not get paid, just get room and board, but our government won't let them off. 80,000 employees just hanging on it. I guess there could be a better place to be stuck. Now I know they aren't getting the amenities, of course, but all right, let's look at some gappers now. Shop has been a beast. 482. Greg was talking about gaps and retracements, so that's gapping halfway into that bar, basing at the low. So that's a shock. Anything half or more is a shock. Yeah, I agree, Brian. Apple, you said, was under the low. No, Apple's not under the low. I thought I heard Greg say it was under the low. No, it's not. APHI, I think this has been one of the Corona stocks, gapping up here, 431. It's a bullish pre-market, but the gap's too big for me. Yeah, I don't know how the cruise business, well, you've heard me say a number of times, I think the cruise business is not going away, but whether they have to file bankruptcy or not is a totally different story. That, I don't know. That's just pure economics. Or can they service their bills? And I'll read you a few sentences from, I read this interesting article in the journal today called Mall Landlords, Retailers Battle Over Unpaid Rent. But I won't do it now. We have no time, but I'll read you some interesting sentences from there. All right, what do we got here? Gap's too big, it's way the heck up here. Yeah, I agree, Kevin. They were saying the malls that have the majority of non-essential stores, 80% of them are not paying their rent. But if they do have essential stores like grocery stores, then they're getting roughly 50%. RTX was gapping up. There's no pattern there. I'm talking about, this was the one we were talking about yesterday. Check CHK that did a reverse split. Wasn't this like 17 cents yesterday? I mean, you can do the math on whatever reverse split they did. But remember I said this looks like a core short at 17 cents. Look at this nasty downtrend, upside shakeout, gap down, closing at the low, and look at it. Whatever percent that is yesterday, look at that, 26 bucks to 19. That's another nasty haircut.
It's going to come back, Dan, long term. No worries.
So buy more. And
average down.
Anki was in the news. I didn't even read what for. I don't care. But no pattern. I mean, this was a bottoming pattern though. Just FYI, you know, at the end of this WRB, it would be a put spread candidate if there was any puts here. But you know, it's hard to get good put premium on pretty much sub $10 stocks. Hey, that's a beautiful 15-minute pre-market. Uptrend, gapped up, fluid bars down, gap support, reversal. That pre-market is a beautiful chart. The daily is a big mess, 162. It's gap. The daily's a mess. But let's put TDOC here as a possible day trade. Look at Robert. I didn't know Debbie got a new name. At first, when I read California Princess, I totally thought you were going to tell us a story about a Carnival Cruise Line ship, that was the name of a ship. Robert's named our resident Debbie from Orange County, the California Princess. Nice. That made me laugh. All right, see, we can have fun here too. What do we got on Nuva? I have no idea, but if it were to take out the red bars high 2 days ago, it looks higher. Target the 200, which corresponds with these overlapping bars. That would be a red bar ignored, bullish consolidation. ILMN had a nice gap breakout yesterday. Gapping down here now, nothing to do with that. Oh, I read that in the paper also, Zeke. Greg, it just makes us appreciate. See, I was ready for the bell that time. It didn't scare me. But yeah, I read in the paper, or maybe I got I got an alert on my phone from the weatherman that said there's a big massive pileup in Chicago on the freeway because of snowstorms. I'm like, on April 15th? You got snowstorms and pileups, even with no cars on the road. Yeah, I mean, I'm here in my shorts, and I think the weather lady said down here we're going to have record heat. Like, I don't know, 88 degrees or something today. It's crazy. All right, I see RCL week. Netflix has been on a tear, and that's the one I kicked myself for not getting us into a put spread and or a directional 2 days ago in the morning. Look at this 15-minute bar chart here, folks. Range expansion, bottoming tail, 15-minute high 2 days ago. I did